Well, to start with, congratulations on getting UDAN off the ground. So you've had your first flight, or actually two flights take off, one from Hyderabad and one from Delhi to Shimla yesterday. So let me start by asking you about that. There's been a lot of buzz around the regional connectivity scheme. Now that you've got it off the ground, what is the aspiration?
The aspiration is really to be able to get another 100 or so airports on the aviation network. Right now, before UDAN, we had 75 operational airports in this country. And in 75 years of civil aviation, we got to 75 airports. The good news is with UDAN, in 1 year, we've added 31 new airports to the aviation network. And that's because we were able to design, thank you. We were able to design a very market-friendly and innovative scheme that made it very attractive for airlines to go into these underserved markets. And I think what is most exciting about UDAN is not just that we have 31 airports in the first round that we've added to the network. We now have 5 regional airlines who have business models and aircraft that is well equipped to be able to get to these smaller airports and keep adding more airports to the network. Now, what we would really like to do is we've added 31 airports in this first round. Eventually, over the next 2 or 3 years, we'd like to be able to add an additional 100 airports to the 75 so that we have 175, 200 airports that are part of our aviation network. And just to give you some numbers, in India, we are the world's 3rd largest aviation market now. We have about 155 million, 160 million passenger trips a year. The US has 900 million passenger trips, and China has about 500 million passenger trips. China has about 250 airports. The US has about 400 airports. We only have 70, a little over 100 right now. So we really need to expand the aviation market, and that's really what we are doing with UDAN. And I can tell you that, whether it's Shimla, or Kanpur, or Surat, or Gwalior, or Ludhiana, Bhatinda, any of these places, when that airplane arrives and we say we are going to provide scheduled services, there is just incredible excitement and enthusiasm for these flight services in these towns, because air connectivity now is absolutely vital for business, for trade, and also for education, as I'm sure all of you will agree.
If I were to ask you, and I don't mean to be skeptical, but if I were to ask you about how this is going to be different, the experience itself, because we've had regional airlines fly in this country, the experience hasn't been great. They've all gone belly up. Some, in fact, very recently, in the past 12 months, we've seen 2 cases. What makes you feel confident of the fact that we're not going to see a repeat of the past experience?
No, that's a great question, Shereen. And we've obviously spent a lot of time studying what went wrong in the past and what can we learn from the examples of other countries. Today, the US, Canada, Australia, all of them have regional connectivity schemes of one type or the other. And of course, in India in the past, we've had Air Deccan, we've had Vayudut, and so on, where they've tried to do this and they've not been successful at it. So we've learned from all of those lessons. And what we've done, I think, is really 4 important mechanisms we've put in place to ensure that they will be profitable once they open up these smaller airports and run these regional routes. The first thing that we've done is we've massively reduced the cost of flying to these airports. So neither do we have any airport charges, nor do we have any navigation charges for going to these airports. So much so that if you're running an RCS flight, so if you're flying from, let's say, Jamshedpur to Calcutta, which is a RCS route, then even in Calcutta, you are not going to get any airport or navigation charges. So we made these flights very cost effective. Part of what we've done for costs as well is that we've taken ATF taxes, which are typically around 20-25%, and we've reduced them down to 3%. So the cost of running these flights has come down. That's number 1. Number 2, what we've done is that we have said that you will get this route as an exclusive for 3 years. 3 years. So Jamshedpur, Calcutta, which has been won by Air Deccan in this case, will be exclusive to Air Deccan for 3 full years. And that obviously allows them to build up a profitable customer base and so on. So that's number 2. Number three, we've enabled people to bid for a subsidy, the viability gap funding. And ladies and gentlemen, let me add one point here. You'll be very pleased to know, because people that are traveling between the major metros who are funding this from a cross-subsidy point of view, in the first round where we've opened up 31 airports and we've added 13 lakh seats, the total subsidy amount is only 200 crores. We've added 31 airports with only 200 crores of subsidy. That is because we've worked the cost, we've given the exclusivity and so on. So there's the viability gap funding as well, along with the exclusivity. And then finally, the fourth thing that we've done is we sat down and worked with the lessors. If indeed the lessors think it's risky to lease you an ATR 72, the cost of leasing goes up. As we all know, frankly, sometimes bureaucrats don't know, risk costs money. The more risk, the higher you have to pay. Risk reward, CAPM, we all know that. So we sat down with the lessors and said, what can we do to reduce your cost and your risk of leasing? The more we reduce their risks, the lower the cost of leasing the planes and the more affordable the flights become.
You were talking about ATF, and under the RCS, you're absolutely right. State governments have actually been able to bring down the ATF rate to 1%. The governments of Delhi, the governments of Rajasthan have been the first or the early adopters of that scheme. The plea here from Teik Yeoh is, look, I don't fly regional. ATF is 30% of my cost. Can you help me out as well?
I think I'll have to put on my finance hat from being in the Ministry of Finance and say, no, we can't do that. And of course, there's a revenue loss issue, but there is also an equity issue because we have fairly high excise taxes, soon to be GST taxes and so on petroleum.
But it's not under the GST ambit for now.
That's right. Petroleum is not for the next 2 years. But we have relatively high excise taxes on petroleum at the state and at the center level. And that is true for trucking as well as it's true for railways as well as it's true for aviation. So from an equity point of view and from a revenue loss perspective, we do have to be somewhat thoughtful about what we do there.
Disappointed? Your plea, meeting absolutely no response here from the minister.
Optimism is what keeps all of us in the airline business going. So we are not giving
Hopefully that's not the only thing that keeps the airline business going. You need a lot more than just optimism and hope to keep you afloat.
But this morning, Shri Arun Jaitley talked about competitive federalism. And I think what we need to work together with the ministry is also to convince the state on the benefits of reduction in the ATF state taxes. Case in point, Andhra Pradesh has reduced it to 4%, and the return in the long term is more than what the immediate shortfall in the state coffers. So we are not giving up on that, and CII, as chairman of the National Committee Aviation, we are going to call on the 5 states which account for most of the state collection in terms of ATF taxes.
Do you feel hopeful? I know that you've been in consultation with states on this for very, very long now. In fact, your predecessor was trying to do this as well. But do you feel confident of being able to see any breakthrough on this front?
As long as you pay your taxes everywhere else, we can bring down taxes here.
Okay. So that's the message, the larger message here to the audience. But let me move away from regional connectivity, Mr. Sinha, and talk to you about the sector in its totality. One of the big challenges that we're seeing today is, and it's a good thing because you've got a problem of plenty, so you've got more people flying, but you've already run out of capacity even as far as your major airports are concerned, whether it's Delhi airport, it's the Mumbai airport, and I think everyone in this room will agree that you're stuck circling for at least 45 minutes to an hour every single flight that you take because there's traffic congestion. What do you do about that?
Well, first of all, Shereen, I don't think it's quite that bad.
Should we do a poll?
My own experience.
Should we do a poll here?
Please, I'd love to learn. Okay. I'd love to find out.
So how many people think that traffic congestion is holding up flights and it's a big problem?
No, that is the wrong way to ask the question.
Okay, the government is going to ask the question. Go ahead, sir.
The question is, and I'll take Mumbai out of the equation because we all know Mumbai is congested. We have one runway. Mumbai is already at peak operating efficiency. It's the second most efficient airport in the world after Gatwick. They're doing a tremendous job in terms of managing air traffic. So their challenges are different. So I would take Mumbai out of the equation. So with Mumbai out of the equation and including Delhi, I would ask you all, please raise your hand. How many of you in your flights apart from Mumbai are finding that you're circling for more than 20 minutes, not 45 minutes,
Okay.
more than 20 minutes? I see a very different show of hands.
Okay. No, that's quite a few, sir, but nevertheless, go ahead.
We are working with NATS, which is the world's #1 expert when it comes to air traffic management. And we are quite hopeful, as I briefed the press last week, that we'll go from 67 flight movements an hour in Delhi to 95 in the next 2 or 3 years.
I remember when we last spoke, you had given me a number. You said that about 3 lakh crore rupees is going to be required in terms of upgrading airport and ancillary infrastructure. Where do things currently stand? And if you can give us a roadmap of that spending, sir.
No, you're exactly right, Shereen. The 3 lakh crores we estimate is going to be required in the next 10 to 15 years to build out our airport capacity. But that's just airport capacity. That does not include the cost of acquiring land. In many cases, for example, in Navi Mumbai, or now as we're looking at Western UP, the cost of land acquisition, particularly with 4x the market value, which is the Land Acquisition Act today, is in many cases more than the cost of building the airport.
But since you talked about Navi Mumbai, may I ask you, 2019, sir, is pretty much around the corner. The Navi Mumbai airport is pretty certain not going to be ready by 2019. So what is the new timeline? And I believe that you're now personally sort of trying to ensure that there is forward movement on this front. Can you give us a sense of where things stand?
We are all working very hard on Navi Mumbai. It's a complicated situation because the terrain itself is tricky. It's marshy terrain. We have to level 2 hills. We have to dam the river. There are significant resettlement issues. There are 3,900 families still there, so we have to resettle them. There are important connectivity issues. The Mumbai Trans-Harbour link has to be built to be able to provide appropriate connectivity to Navi Mumbai. So it's a very complicated project as a result of that. The environmental clearances are complicated as well, and we are working on those. So looking at all of that, it is going to take us a significant amount of time to resolve those issues and actually get the airport built. And because it's really a national aviation issue, I am taking personal interest. I've had multiple consultations with CITCO, with GVK that has won the bid, and of course with the government of Maharashtra. And we really have to accelerate and expedite this as much as possible, because if Mumbai is congested, the rest of India's aviation network is also congested.
So what is the new timeline then, sir, that you're working towards? Is it 2022? Is it going to take longer than that? What are we realistically talking about?
So we are looking at it in phases, and our hope is that sometime in 2020 or so, we will be able to get phase 1 up and running, which would mean 1 runway and 1 terminal.